guys, welcome into the IDP Waiver Wire show. I'm Justin Frye. That's Joe Harlow. You can find us on X.
Hello, everyone.
I'm at FFF Ballers, and he's at JoLo63. Welcome into the inaugural IDP Waiver Wire show. The two of us will be running here weekly. If you ever have any questions, reach out. We're both on the Discord server for IDP guys, and we've got a whole ton of great content from our writers and everyone else over on the IDP guys team, idpguys.org. And as always, feel free to reach out, ask us any questions as we go along. So with that, we'll move into injuries to kick off our discussion. And unfortunately,
started off with the fun stuff.
Yeah, week one was brutal. You want to run through them, Joe?
Yeah, I can go through a bunch of them we have because there are a lot. Starting on the IDP side, you have Nakobe Dean. Sounds like he's going on IR with a foot injury. Yeah, Not ideal. It's going to be a breakout year.
We'll be talking about some guys probably later on to replace him with.
Yep. Also, Jalen Petrie, last year's DB1, was a rookie sensation. Had a bruised lung, was spitting up blood. Not seeing much on his status, but I'd be shocked if he went this week.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, Quay Walker, who had an incredible pick six and was taken over the green dot as linebacker one for Green Bay. Concussion. Don't think he's playing this week. Maybe he's in the protocol, so also not a deal there.
Those protocols post-2, I'm just assuming it's at least a week minimum.
Yeah. Cam Hayward, it was a rough week for the Steelers. They lost him. Sounds like he's going to be on a longer-term IR, 8 weeks. They also lost Deontay Johnson and Pat Fryermuth for some time. Deontay Johnson sounds like it'll be longer.
Yeah,
rough week for them.
Possibly IR for Deontay, too, with that hamstring. Yep. Fryermuth, we'll see what kind of pain tolerance that guy has because he was in and out after he got that injury. So he might be able to play if they give him a shot or something. But
got worked over on the field and medicals. Elsewhere, Marcus Williams for the Ravens. Shoulder sounds like IR again. Hopefully not for the season this time, but hate to see that.
I think they were optimistic he wasn't going to miss the year.
Well, it sucks. 2 years in a row after a great week one last year and first part of the year.
Yeah. Speaking of multiple years.
With the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins, just that might be done for him for his career, which hopefully not, but that's brutal. Contract year, off another injury, starting to get healthy, and just absolutely hate to see that. And then another Achilles last night with Aaron Rodgers. So Zach Wilson time?
Ugh.
Gosh. Carson Wentz, someone else. Just gross.
Trade for Jameis.
Yeah. Get Tom Brady out of retirement. Then a couple other offensive injuries. Have Greg Dulcich, who was one of my breakout guys. So that hurts a lot for me and for the Broncos, but especially with Judy and Patrick already down, they need one of them to come back. Jacoby Myers with a head injury as well after going off against the Broncos. So hopefully he's back, but hate to see that one too. And then Aaron Jones with a hamstring. Think he might be playing this week, but a little up in the air right now. So I think that's pretty much it for injuries, right, Justin?
Yeah. I don't think there was anyone else that we're missing, but I mean
not that we need more.
We'll see the reports as they come in all week. If you guys aren't subscribed, I'll plug for someone else, but you should all download the My Fantasy Life app. It's great. It beats every other injury update, sleeper, anyone else by a little bit. So you typically will get those injury notifications quicker. So,
and on the IDPguys.org, we do have a new injury tracker up there, which I think is going through practice reports and such. So keep an eye out there as well. Keep it all in one place. But,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess let's get into the waiver wires. If you guys have any questions throughout the show, drop them in the comments. We'll take a look. We'll get to them throughout the show and afterwards.
All right. We'll kick it off. We're going to start with IDP first. That's what we do. We will cover both IDP and offense, but we'll start with IDP and then transition over to offense after we get through everybody there. So We'll start off front to back. We'll kick it off with D-line. First guy I want to bring up, Arden Key. Dude looked great. For those who don't know, he left the Jaguars and signed with the Titans this offseason. Was hoping for a bigger role. He only played about 55% of snaps, 36 to 65. Would have been nice to see that pick up. Hopefully, with how well he did, it will. Got 4 total tackles. I think it was 3 solo and 1 assist, 1.5 sacks. But he actually tied all pass rushers with 8 total pressures. I think he tied Jalen Carter, which was impressive by itself too, how he did. But I think those two both had 8 pressures to lead all defensive linemen.
The Titans were dominating that O-line.
I mean, he made the young tackle, I'm blanking on his name right now, for the Saints look terrible.
Trevor Penning.
Yeah, wow.
Rough.
Blanking on that name, but yeah, he just spun him all day long. It was brutal. So it'll be interesting to see. They're playing the Chargers this week, so we'll see what their tackles do.
Chargers have their own O-line issues if they get them on the right side.
Yeah,
Trey Pipkins looked horrible again, so maybe some more pressures.
It's a good streamer. Might be season long. He's a guy at the very least I would, if your league's deep enough, stash him. See what happens. See what you got. If he can do it again week 2, you might have something that's playable weekly. At the very least, a plug and play option if one of you guys goes down. So I think, Joe, you want to talk about someone else next?
Yep, we'll hit Odafe Owe, the third-year player, correct, for the Ravens. They've been looking for an edge rusher forever now, and he led all edge rushers for them with 64% of snaps. He didn't have any sacks this week and only had 3 tackles, but he had 7 quarterback pressures, so just behind Arden Key and Jalen Carter, and looked really good, which is what we want to see. Yeah, there was the issue coming out of Penn State where he famously had no sacks as in his last year, but he does have that talent. He's awesome as an athlete, great technician. Hopefully this is actually his breakout year. With not having many tackles and no sacks, don't want to start him right away. Just kind of want to see if he is the guy there. But he's definitely worth rostering, and especially in deeper leagues as a potential upside guy.
Or big play leagues where sacks are juiced a little bit more than tackles, because he doesn't probably have much of a floor weekly. But man, if him and wow, I'm terrible with names today. The Baltimore second-year guy who blew out his Achilles.
Ojabo, and then they also have Clowney there, correct?
Oh yeah, they did sign him. He's probably playing interior because they run a 3-4. I think he's probably the DN there, but all 3 of them, yeah. I mean, it's a lethal pass rush. Matabuke too. It seems to be growing, but man, that Cincinnati O-line. Always interesting, and Joe and I'll probably hammer this home all year on you, so you'll get to hear it early and often. But I'm chasing pressures. Sacks are not sticky. Pressures absolutely are. And, I mean, if he's getting to the quarterback and getting there consistently, I'd much rather have that than the fluky one-off guys that we're probably about to hit on next.
We are going to hit on one of those.
My guy, Drake Jackson for the Niners. Yeah. I mean,
3 sacks this week. Love to see it.
I was so hyped up, and then just a roster crunch on my deep team, and I had to cut him. And Joe was ribbing me hard, but
saw the early sacks. Was like, oh man,
what could have been if I'd kept him? Oh well, whatever.
Did have a low snap count.
Yeah, they rotated guys. I mean, 44%. Him and they're easing Bosa back in, so. I mean, the 2 of them kind of played low, which honestly it might be good. I didn't dig in enough to see was a lot of it third down and pass rush snaps, but maybe they're splitting run versus pass, and if he's just playing the pass, 3 sacks is fantastic. So,
and their main secondary edge rusher is in Indianapolis from last year. Is in Indianapolis now, Samson Ebukam. So that role is open, and if Jackson put up this performance, he could earn more of a role, and Bosa is going to take a lot of attention away. So
this preseason, Clelin Ferrell honestly scared me off of Drake Jackson quite a bit, but seems like Jackson might be the better option, and maybe Ferrell yet again, just giving us a little taste of what could be.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well,
So,
I think we'll move on to linebacker. And Joe, you want to hit on one of your guys again?
yeah, I'm going to hit on Ivan Pace, undrafted rookie. He was a guy I was pretty high on as a prospect, even though he is small, not great in coverage, but he is a beast against the run, and he is just out there looking to take heads off and
How
just
often
cause
do
havoc.
undrafted free agents sit in the final preseason game because they've already earned their roster
Yep.
spot? And
It's
I mean, he kicked everyone's favorite sleeper from this year, Asamoah, right to the curb. Man,
yep. Pace had 68% of snaps, which isn't a great number, but compared to Asamoah with 3% of snaps, I think 2 total, he's the clear LB2 there. He's the guy. And he racked up 8 tackles this week, which on only 68% of snaps, you love to see that. This week they're going up against the Eagles on Thursday night, which last year they were a pretty run-heavy team. Less so in week 1, but we'll see how that goes. If they are running a lot, then Pace can get up some good tackles for you. Again,
yeah,
he's definitely someone to pick up.
I'm sure we'll hit on
maybe not start right away, but
sorry, I'm sure we'll hit on the Eagles running game a little bit later
we'll get to
too.
the
So
Eagles
we
again.
can, yeah, we'll hit this game a little more later. But so I want to hit on Cody Barton, darling last year, and he's right back there again this year. He left Seattle. We had a little rotation between Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Washington. Barton wound up in Washington as their supposedly linebacker too, but go look at the snap count. 100% of snaps. He pushed Jamin Davis right back to the same role, and took the top role from Cole Holcomb, who got hurt last year. But I mean, only 4 total tackles. A little disappointing to see that, but I mean, I'm not gonna really hold a game against the Cardinals too much against him because. I mean, that offense
Dumpster
is going to
fire.
be pretty gross most of the year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how often can you really run the ball when you're trailing? Though they did actually play pretty well in that game, but it should be better days ahead. The matchup this week is in Mile High out here, so yeah, I like the matchup this week because the Broncos have said repeatedly they want to run, and they've got plenty of running backs. So you should be able to get to Javonte a few times and hopefully bump up that tackle total.
We have a pretty timely question here from Willpower, which will pop up now. Talking about losing to Kobe Dean, which sucks a lot, as we touched on earlier. And our next name, or names really up, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia linebackers. Mention here, Will, that you have Ellis, which I'm not sure if that's Caden Ellis with the Falcons or the guy who took over for Dean, Christian Ellis. But he is an option.
Probably a little more rostered.
That would make more sense, but never know. The Eagles also did go out and sign Rashaan Evans, fresh off of almost 160 total tackles last year.
Caden,
so if he comes up, and Will did clarify it was Caden.
Thank you.
But makes sense there. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're loaded at linebacker. Wow, that's
you really are.
Yeah, but personally, sorry, do you want to keep going? Sorry.
No, you were good. So we're not really sure which of Evans or Christian Ellis will be taking over that role, but one of them is probably worth the pickup. I would lean Rashaan Evans. Just he's proven that he can be a good linebacker in the league and good for fantasy.
I'm prioritizing Perriman on this list. I'm going for Perriman.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy for Houston. Joe's favorite breakout down there is Christian Harris, and he was rotating with Toto and some of the other linebackers. Perriman looked like the full-time guy, had a pretty good week, and he to me is the only full-time guy there. So it's an easy Perriman for me that I prioritize there.
Yep. I would agree. Still all in on Harris for dynasty purposes and later in the year, but right now it's Perriman.
Yep.
All right, so sticking with now we're going to go to the back end since we hit on the Eagles linebackers a little bit and let Justin talk about one of our guy on my team, Julian Blackmon.
Yeah. So, sorry, we're clicking over each other. Julian Blackmon. Yeah. I was not sure what to make of it early in the preseason, but that last preseason game, I think he played nearly every box snap and then played 100% of the snaps, including 56% in the box to kick off week 1. Now they're playing Houston. The tackles, only 5. They weren't really there, but I mean, based on that role, I don't
Love it.
care as much about the tackle total for week 1. I'm chasing that role all day.
Yep.
If he can put that kind of stats up or that kind of role up, the stats will come. He'll be, I don't know, top 20-ish overall safety probably.
He's a player I love. He's coming out of Utah. He was awesome. Just an absolute missile, taking people's heads off. Great coverage guy too. So even if he is more back deep, he is a big play threat. And love to see it for some talent on my Colts who suck.
I don't know. They looked pretty good last week, but
they lost and looked good. I will take that.
All right, you want to hit on your next guy?
Yep.
We'll go to one of the Bengals.
Yep. Oh, I think we're clicking over each other again. There we go. Nick Scott. Sounds good. Nick Scott, who they're coming over from the Rams last year, so still in the Zach Taylor pipeline, and the Sean McVay, I guess. But he looked great last week with the Bengals. Had 11 total tackles, played all but 1 or 2 snaps, 97% total, and 39 box and slot snaps, which, like we were talking about with Julian Blackmon, you love to see that for a safety. Now, is 11 tackles going to happen every week? No, that's not the stickiest thing. But having that role where he is playing more than half of snaps or almost half of snaps in the box, you love to see that. He's a good shot to take. Von Bell and Jesse Bates were both great for fantasy over the last few years, especially that Von Bell role. Love to see that by a veteran guy who the Bengals were super high on all offseason. And then Dax Hill, still a highly talented player. So we'll kind of see. Look, he played in the slot and box as well, a little less so, though. So Nick Scott's the Bengal I would go with right now.
Yeah. And sorry, Will, I just saw your follow-up comment. I like that order. Evans, just keep in mind, if you do add him and wind up with him, he's a longer-term guy, so you might not see immediate dividends. I figure Zach Cunningham probably plays full-time going forward, and Christian Ellis will start off as the other guy, but I think eventually Evans will win out within, I don't know, probably week 3 at the earliest.
I'd agree there. And then also with Cunningham being a more recent signing as well. And Evans has been really good over the last couple of years comparatively. So I'd agree. Yeah. And then Dean should be back after, 4 or 5 games is the thought right now. So
it sounded, I don't know. They're so coy with that stuff. I expect him to go on IR probably Thursday, I think, is when transactions locked for that Thursday game. So we'll see.
And even even if Dean does come back, he did have a lot of injury risks and history at Georgia. So he's probably Evans would still, or Cunningham, whoever is the guy, would be worth holding through that.
Right. We got any other questions? Or I think that's our last IDP name. So see anyone got any more IDP questions? If we don't get to it, I mean, feel free. We'll jump back to it and answer your questions still. But we're going to transition over to offense.
Because we do have offense too over with the IDP guys.
Yeah, we touch on both, and we'll start off with quarterback in case any of you had the unlucky break of the Jets' horrible situation with Rodgers. And we'll tout another AFC East quarterback. Mac Jones, dude. I mean, I'm willing to throw out 2022. I mean.
That offense was so just disgusting.
2021, I think we were I'm a Pats fan, sorry. So if I slip up and say we, that's why. Sorry. But Mac Jones, he looked pretty good this week in a real offense. And, I mean, the majority of the snaps were played by 2 6th-round rookies and a wide receiver that barely played last year, as well as, Hunter Henry and then they rotated at running back. So, it's kind of a similar offense to what they had in 2021 when Mac was put up a top 10 offensive season as a rookie for the Patriots. And, I mean, it might be hit and miss week to week, but they're playing the Dolphins this week on Sunday night. So, the Dolphins gave up some points to Herbert. The Patriots were willing to throw the football quite a bit. So,
and the Chargers got most of their points on the ground, but there could be an overcorrection from Fangio's defense there. And
54 attempts in that game in the rain. With, like I said, 2 6th-round rookies starting on the outside for them is pretty impressive that he put up 316 and 3. And that one pick, I mean, I'm going to blame it a little bit on the rain. If you saw the game, I mean, it was a little high to Bourne, tipped off his hands right to the DB who ran it back for a touchdown Slay. So, I mean, a little
honestly,
unlucky.
if you're getting 1 interception and 50-plus attempts, you can live with that.
Yeah, I mean, even that one,
300 yards.
Was a little unlucky. So, I mean, yeah. So
he is a good quarterback.
Yeah, and it looked good. And the Eagles, for all that what they lost on defense, still kept their top 2 quarterbacks, and they still have Hassan Reddick. And like I said, Jalen Carter was one of the top pass rushers. So they were seeing pass rush and everything, and he put up numbers. So they'll probably have to throw again to keep up with the Dolphins. I think he's a solid streamer for this week. And honestly, and especially in Superflex leagues, he's a quarterback too easily.
Absolutely.
Discount Kirk Cousins. So,
you
want to hit on the top running back we got on here?
Yeah. So Kyren Williams, the Rams shocked the Seahawks last week and absolutely just obliterated them. But Kyren was shockingly the lead back for them. He had 65% of snaps compared to Cam Akers' 35%, 15 carries, also 2 targets. I don't think he caught either target, though, but still getting a couple. And he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. It seemed like he was the guy on the field on 3rd downs in the red zone. And he's a great pass blocker. That was his best attribute coming out of the draft. He was the best blocking back in that class. He is, even though he's small, he's really good at that. So he'll be on the field. This week against the Niners, don't love that matchup. But if he does continue to outsnap Akers almost 2-1, he's definitely worth picking up right now and holding to see if he's the guy or a guy.
They should be playing from behind, and he seemed to have a lock on that passing role. So, especially without Cooper Kupp there, they can't throw it to the wide receiver we'll talk about here in a little bit, as many times as they do every single game. So we'll see. I expect a better game from Kyren receiving. But I saw you message back. Kaiser White or Caden Ellis is a drop for Rashaan Evans. I would not drop Caden Ellis. He looked really good in Atlanta week 1 and nearly matched Troy Anderson. Kaiser.
I would be willing to drop Evans for Kaiser. Kaiser for Evans.
Yeah.
That's a tough one though, because Jonathan Gannon loves Kaiser White. Should he?
How many linebackers? How many players do you have to start? Will, sorry, curious because you've got a lot of linebackers. I might be willing to just hold Dean.
Yeah.
With that many starting linebackers on your roster.
And then we'll probably get back to yours at the end of the show. Just want to run through the rest of the offensive guys real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So Thursday night, I've got Kenny Gainwell as running back out if he's available. Might not be in some deeper leagues or even some 12 teams with some of the info that came out in the preseason on him. But I mean, it was dead on accurate that Gainwell was the guy. 41 snaps. He more than doubled any other snaps. I think Swift saw 18 or 19, and Boston Scott mixed him for like 8. So
and Penny in healthy scratch.
Yeah, which is big, but it would not shock me because unfortunately, Gainwell in this Monday practiced with a rib, and it's being reported as highly questionable and a game time decision. It wouldn't shock me on a Thursday night if they sit him and play Rashad Penny as not only the back but the lead back in that game.
Yeah.
So it could be kind of
if Gainwell's out. Sorry to talk over you there. If Gainwell's out, Penny would be the shot I take. I'm not a huge DeAndre Swift believer anymore. Boston Scott, this isn't the Giants, so he's probably not going to go off. But
I'm avoiding the game in general.
It's a stay away. But if you have to play one, I'd take the shot on Penny. He's an elite back when he plays.
Yeah,
but
I mean both Rashad White and Sean Tucker struggled. Tucker looked a little better than White, but they did not run well against the Vikings, if I'm remembering that matchup correctly.
Yeah, they did not.
So 14 carries, 54 yards was a little disappointing. 4 catches for 20 yards, but I think we'll see again on Sunday night Patriots defense is going to be a top tier defense again
They're
for
good. Very, very
general
good.
purposes, even if their IDP assets are not as good as you would like them to be. The team itself is good. So I think they're going to be able to slow a lot of teams down. And the Eagles rightly assumed they could take advantage of a rookie corner, and they did. So that's the matchup they decided to pick on. So if a team like Minnesota decides to try to slow down the pass, unlikely but possible, then they can try to run the ball against the Vikes. But I expect Minnesota to get picked on through the air with what they've done at cornerback, losing Peterson and not really replacing him. So, like I said, probably not the best stream, but I think he's worth an ad and will be a potential flex play for you going forward.
Absolutely agree. Let's head over to the wide receivers and how we alluded to the Cooper Kupp role.
You want to take it, or sorry?
Go for it.
Okay. So we'll get back to you. I saw your response, Will. Appreciate that. We'll get back to you, like Joe said at the end. Thanks for that. So Puka Nakua, 15 targets. Believe it or not, that 15 targets is the most targets ever earned by a rookie wide receiver in Week 1, beating out Anquan Bolden, who I think had like a monster rookie game in that one too. So it's a very great start. He apparently slid right into the Cooper Kupp role, and more importantly, he stayed on the field when they went to 2 wide receiver sets, and it was Tutu Atwell that came off. So he's a full-time receiver for as long as Cooper Kupp is out, and with the way he played versus the way Van Jefferson played, I mean, Van's probably going to stay on the field in 2 wide receiver sets as a deep threat, but
Van did still outsnap Nakua by a decent margin.
I don't think Nakua's coming off the field when
anymore.
Kupp comes back. He's going to take that Robert Woods role in that old offense when they had, I mean, Vanderbilt Cook's lesser version, but I think he's a season-long play who is startable for sure as long as Kupp is out, and might be beyond that, because he out-targeted Higbee. So he's at minimum the wide receiver 2 in a team that, while they beat up on Seattle, is that really who the Rams are? I don't know. They play San Francisco this week. It's a much tougher matchup for everyone. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in this matchup. It is at home, little help there, but wide receiver 9 overall. And like I said, Kupp's out at least 3 weeks. A lot of people don't seem to be taking into account that it could be more than that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he misses a little more while they just wait for him to get healthy, fully healthy. But 15 targets, 10 catches, 119 yards, and he will get in the end zone at some point. So with that kind of utilization, so I'm excited. So get him on your rosters if he's available.
Yeah, and if you're in Fab leagues, drop a pretty penny. Yeah. Don't drop all of it, but I'd be willing to drop
something people with Fab leagues don't seem to always take into account is that people want to save their Fab till the end. But if you think about it, and you burn your Fab on a guy in week 12 versus a guy in week 1, which one are you actually getting more use out of?
Yep.
So just think about it that way. Make sure you properly allocate your Fab. And I'm willing to spend more earlier, because as the season goes along and people fall out, they spend less and less Fab. So you're not competing against as many people. So sorry, just sidebar on Fab.
Oh, yeah. And now next receiver up, we're going back to New England, and a guy, Kendrick Bourne, who I've always been super high on. Think he's a great NFL player. And last week, 11 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely love to see that. He actually played most of his snaps on the outside this time. He used to be more of a slotty, gadgety usage, even with San Francisco before. But he's a good receiver, good route runner.
Yeah, he's the locked in flanker for the Patriots. When Parker comes back, he'll take over Booty's role. And honestly, Douglas and Juju rotated more than I expected. So Bourne looked to be the alpha.
He did. And he's shown that in flashes last year, just like we were talking about Mac. That offense last year was petty and frankly dumb. Kendrick Bourne was late to one meeting early in the preseason, and he was in the doghouse for the rest of the season, which you can't do as an inexperienced staff. You can't sit your best players. And Bourne is a very, very good player, as he showed. And he's someone I would pick up. Want to see a little more from him before I put him in as a starter. But I do think he could have some season-long value as a wide receiver 3 flex sort of play.
Yeah, in any kind of deep league, I'm willing to flex him this week, but especially against the Dolphins. But I would definitely try to wait and see if you're in some kind of a shallower league but you're looking for receiver help. Third receiver we want to hit on, Zay Jones in Kansas City, or versus Kansas City, sorry. So interestingly enough, it kind of showed up in the preseason, and it was interesting to see it carry over. After Christian Kirk had like a huge year last year, he got relegated to the slot-only role and stayed off the field for the most part on third downs. Not only that, I mean, Zay did kick inside to the slot some, but he was the clear wide receiver 2 over
7 targets
Kirk.
to Kirk's 2.
Pass, 7 targets. And sorry?
Zay Jones had 7 targets to Christian Kirk's 2, 62 snaps to Kirk's 42. And Zay was the second guy. Trusted when Trevor Lawrence was under duress, an insane throw and catch on the sideline in the end zone. But he seems to be the 2 right now.
Okay. And no need to apologize at all, Will. Happy to have some interaction and get to answer some questions and help you out. So Marvin Mims, yeah, I was disappointed with that one too. Unfortunately, I have him in redraft leagues and was not thrilled with how Russ used him. But with Dulcich being out, yeah, I do think that helps. And I mean, at some point, they're going to have to move away from Cortland Sutton because he's just not what they want him to be. And I mean, Mims reminds me so much of Hollywood Brown and being able to do a lot of the stuff that Hollywood can do. And that should be a good mesh with Russ, especially as they get going. I do think he can be Russ's deep threat guy, kind of in that Tyler Lockett role for him. I would rather Puka. Now that I see that one, I missed that one. Yeah, if you have to play him, I'm still playing Puka just because 15 targets versus 2, I think, for Marvin Mims, if I remember right. Two targets, 2 catches, 9 yards, I think.
Yeah.
So I would definitely rather Puka, and I'm probably.
And honestly, with a tougher matchup, that's almost better I would think, for Nakua, because if they're down early, then Stafford's just going to start chucking it and go to the guy he clearly trusts. But I don't know I'm not remembering who the Broncos have this week right now.
They're playing whoever we just talked about. Sorry,
Washington.
Yeah. So I would spend on Puka there over Mims.
And Will pointed out it's best ball, so doesn't really have to play one, but I would still go for Puka there, even in best ball. Just he's shown more through one game.
Absolutely.
Small data set, of course, but.
And then, sorry, I saw your question, Joe. We'll cover that at the end too. We got one more player to hit on. We'll let Joe talk about it, and then we'll circle back to Will's IDP question and Joe's IDP question.
Yep. So Luke Musgrave at tight end, who was another super athletic tight end, very similar to Dulcich in a lot of respects. And then this week with Jordan Love, as they boat raced the Bears, he only had 4 targets, but caught 3 for 50 and ran a route on 85% of Jordan Love's dropbacks. So you love to see that high usage. He's on the field.
So I don't know if you saw it.
More comfortable.
I don't know if you saw it too. Jordan Love threw a ball. Musgrave ran I think it was a corner route, was wide open behind everybody. And he threw it to the inside when Musgrave's turning over his outside shoulder. Otherwise, it was a 50-yard touchdown probably. So I mean, you can get on the train now before it really takes off. And he's probably the only one I'm prioritizing, but there's a whole bunch of tight ends available. So Ferguson, Hurst, Henry. If you need one, one of your guys was hurt, Kelsey hopefully is back. Andrews is hopefully back. Waller seems to be fighting injury.
Hamstring and Daniel Jones.
They should be a lot better with Arizona on the docket this week.
If they're not.
Yeah, not panicking yet, but yeah, Andrew, he definitely, yeah, it was very close to a much bigger day for Musgrave. I keep wanting to say Dulcich.
They're just similar guys, both with some injury history. And Musgrave he's actually turned into a decent blocker as well, just through the preseason. He was one of my tight end too as a prospect. And I just think he has the highest upside, honestly, of all the rookie tight ends, which is probably a hot take, but it's just as a receiver, he's big, fast, great hands, good routes. I think now's the time to buy, especially in dynasty leagues. And here, I think he's usable for redraft.
So, Will, you brought this up, and I didn't realize this. With it being best ball, it changes may take a little bit on holding Dean. Sorry, we'll circle back to IDP the IDP questions now. You brought this up on your question about dropping here. We'll bring the main question up. Dropping Dean. I would drop Dean in this scenario for Perryman. Maybe not for the other two. I would probably hold Dean over them at this point. I don't know how you feel, Joe, versus Pace or Rashawn Evans. But yeah. I'm willing to drop Nakobe Dean for a full-time guy. I'm probably not going to chase.
Yeah, with Rashawn Evans only having been signed to the practice squad, yeah, he's most likely going to be elevated, but there's also a reason he wasn't signed until this point. So I would hold Dean over Evans still today. There also is a good chance that since he was just a practice squad signing, that Evans does kind of slip through the first round or two of waivers.
Yeah. So
if more information comes out that Dean is actually going on IR and will be for more than the 4 weeks, then I'd consider it more. But absolutely. I'm not against it at all. But you do have a pretty strong linebacker core, so I would hold the potential star in Dean at this moment.
Yeah,
unless it's for a full-time role.
For Perriman, I'm willing to do it.
Yep.
So, but sorry, I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. With the Thursday night game, they're not going to call up Evans for the Thursday night game. So my guess is you won't see Rashawn Evans called up off the taxi squad until like a Saturday, because that's typically when teams have to do that. So I would expect week 3 on the mini bye, you might see him activated on a Saturday, and that might be my cue to go get him. So let's see. There was another question.
There's another comment from Joe, not from me.
Yeah, Joe. So Cody Barton, Robert Spillane, better outlook. I'm thinking. Sorry, I was pulling up the data on Spillane, who also was a full-time linebacker.
Yeah, so, I think he had 7 tackles this week on 100% of snaps, right?
Yep, 100%. He was the full-time guy, and I mean Diablo played 94%, so both of them played full-time roles pretty much. So, sorry, Andrew, I see your question. We'll get to it in a sec.
That's Barton for Spillane is tough. I know if you ask our co-worker, co-writer Mike Scioli, sorry if I butchered your name there.
I think
Sicoli, goodness gracious. He's a huge Spillane guy, so take that into account. I do think he's a better NFL player than Barton, but Barton does have less competition for tackles there. I'm
blanking on who the Raiders are playing this week too.
Just had it.
Sorry, because I know Washington's playing Denver, so I like that matchup for Barton.
Do as well.
But sorry, you pulling it up?
Yeah, I am. Computer's going slow right now.
Apologies.
They're playing the Bills, so
not a run first team. That's
no. I think I would rather Barton for this week.
Yeah, they're probably pretty close rest of season long term. But yeah, I think Barton for this week is the safer play if you're just kind of willing to swap back and forth.
Season long, though, I think I might lean Spillane, though, especially with the injury history that Diablo did show last year.
That's a fair point. Yeah, he is
this week specifically.
I think they're both green dot guys, so
I think so. Looks like we have another question here.
So Perriman, And you have
Zaire Franklin, Ernest Jones.
Those two are easy holds. Eric
Absolutely.
Kendrick, same thing. Diablo would be the one I'd question there.
Yeah.
Would I drop Diablo for Perryman?
I don't know if I would make that drop if it is Diablo, but if you have an extra roster space, definitely would pick up Perryman. And I do. What do you think, Perryman versus Diablo there?
I think I might go for Perryman personally. I'm probably not, especially a Fab League or like a high waiver priority. I'm not giving that up.
No.
But if I can sneak him through afterwards or put on a low bid on Perryman, I'm probably willing to do that. Sorry, just a little strategy thing. I don't see a massive difference, and Diablo, he was efficient even on the plate. I think he was 7 or 8 tackles. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was a pretty good player this week too. So.
And season long, I still do think Harris will take that role at some point. That could just be my own take lock, but
I think he's going into the Greenlaw role, but it might be full time. But I'm pretty confident in Perriman sticking on that. He's been a good linebacker throughout his career, sticking in that Fred Warner role. So, we have any other questions? Any other? Anyone else you kind of like, Joe? We talked through a couple tight ends. Maybe we talked through. So we brought up Mac Jones.
Also, Jake Ferguson. Oh, quarterbacks. Mac Jones. Baker is an option against Chicago. Don't love it, but if you're really hurting for quarterbacks,
I mean, they made Jordan Love look pretty good too. I don't know what he really is, but he didn't have much at receiver. So, and threw for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards, I think. So, I mean, a lot of that was Aaron Jones' long catch and run, but still. I'm in on Russ more than Joe is. I think Peyton did a good job making him look pretty good. I like, who are the other names we were talking? I can't even. Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy was in there if he was available. I'm not sure how many. And Jordan Love himself. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on where your league is hosted about Purdy. Like, I mean, ESPN just had him so far down that he's widely available. So, all right, well, 200 fab on Puka. Sorry, we were talking about this and then we kind of got sidetracked. 200 fab for Puka. A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Waddle. Oh my goodness, Christian Watson, Hollywood Brown. Javante or Jamal, I'm not sure. Or is there a receiver?
Jameson, I would assume, receivers.
Yeah.
With this wide receiver room, like you're not going to start Puka over AJ Brown, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Hollywood, probably not. Maybe
best ball.
Ridley is locked in. Oh, best ball, right? Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, my brain jumped to the running backs, even though I knew it was receiver. I'm like, I can't come up with a.
I wouldn't drop a huge amount. Maybe I would not go more than probably 50 there, just with how loaded your room is. But still, definitely put a bid in just in case he slips through the cracks. If you could get him for cheaper, that'd be sweet.
I'm going lower than that probably. I think Marvin Mims might be a guy that comes on as the year goes along, and maybe you need him after someone you have gets hurt or something. But with Ridley, Pittman, Watson, Waddle, Hollywood, and the 2 Browns, I'm not putting a huge priority on that. I don't know how many do you have to start? Sorry, guess we should ask that one.
That'd be smart. But,
yeah, I'm assuming 3 or 4. But
in the meantime, Andrew asked another question about any Arizona D linemen aside from Zaven. Probably not, unless I'm missing someone obvious there. Honestly, Arizona as a whole is a stay away for me. Just with how bad they're going to be, I don't know if anyone's going to have a real role outside of Zaven and Buddha.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up their snaps. unfortunately, they're going to be playing from behind, so I don't think you're going to get as much pass rush from them.
Yeah.
I mean, Gardeck did pretty well, and Cam Thomas too, but they both were under 40% snaps played. It looks like it's a pretty gross rotation, to be honest. So I think I agree. Ojolari would be the guy long term, but he's down at 17%. So,
Yeah.
Whew, that's
Definitely a hold right now.
Start 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and a flex. Sorry. So this one up. So 3 receivers and a flex off of AJ Brown, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Watson, Ridley, Pittman. Yeah, I don't with CMC, Jones, Rashawn White, James Cook. Yeah, I think I'm holding Mims there, except for maybe like a low, I don't know, 10% type bid. Maybe 20 on him, but I'm not. I think someone else is going to get him with where I would
probably.
bid, especially with how loaded you are.
Yeah, still put that bid in there just in case he does fall through the cracks, but
yeah,
don't spend a huge amount on him. You don't need to. Good work on that roster.
Yeah. Reed or Scott. Richie, Grant, Curl, Brisker. Whew, that's a loaded safety room.
I think I'm still going Nick Scott there.
Who you dropping?
I
assume you have to drop one of those, Andrew.
I guess I read that as not. But, if you're not dropping anyone, Nick Scott, but I don't think Fuller. Is that Jordan or I assume it's not Kyle Fuller. If it's Kyle Fuller, drop him. But if it's Jordan, I would still hold, I think.
Let's see if I can do this quick. The one I question would be Richie Grant. I just don't know. It seemed like from the statistics that Jesse Bates had the better role.
Forced fumble.
He also had 10 tackles. I think he's got I think they moved Grant from strong to free safety.
Interesting.
Which is not ideal. But I'm trying to pull it up quick. Coverage alignment.
It is, and Andrew said it is Jordan Fuller, so
it's 50-50. He's actually better than I thought. He basically played more, I think, in the box than Scott did. So I think I'm holding if you don't have an open roster spot, Andrew.
It as
well. Jenkins' stats will come. He was a little low this week, but he's got the box roll. Fuller, if he can stay healthy, is great. Brisker, yeah. Curl is like the must start in that group to me. He had I think he played nearly every snap in the box or something. It was like 60 something. It was a wild percentage. He jumped way up my DB ranks with his usage week 1.
Okay, and I think we've got time for one more question. Hey,
Joe's guy.
This is a good one. Derek Brown. I love Derek Brown. I think he's a great prospect, really good player. Had 8 or 9 tackles this week, and I believe a sack. But not the issue there is they were going against Atlanta, who took the game out of Ritter's hands really quick and just ran it. So that gave Brown a lot more opportunities. Playing him over Zadarius Smith. I'm not sure there.
Like the DBs, sorry, I see. We'll show that quick. Jump back. Duggar should be better. He played actually 100% of snaps for the first time in a couple of years for the Pats. If that's Jalen Phillips, I love that. He's my guy. And then I think I'm playing Zadarius Smith.
I think I still would too. I want to see Brown one more time, see if he can actually put up some.
Yeah, especially if there's any kind of like reasonable number on sacks. If it's fairly low, then I do think Brown's probably a safer play to get tackles than Smith. But if sacks are 3+ points and tackles are 1, I'm probably leading Smith.
Zadarius Smith still looks like had 6 pressures last week, which is still a good number.
Points for hits as well. Yeah. I think I'm sticking Zadarius. So let's try to get through this last question. Micah McFadden or Zach Cunningham? Balanced scoring. Dino McFadden, I think. I am worried about Isaiah Simmons. I'm not sure. I haven't looked to see what he played for a role. But McFadden played a ton, it seemed like, and posted, I think, 9 tackles this week. So he was one that he's the only one who we didn't actually write up on our list. So he might, if he does it again, he might hear his name again next week.
I would agree there.
Yeah, if we got time, we'll run through this one real quick too.
Yeah, and this will be the last question we do.
Yeah, I'm keeping Kenny Moore. I'm not sure Stevens' role, if it's repeatable. Gonzalez, he's going to see targets the way they picked on him. But he looked like
going to go for the slot corner.
Yeah, he looked like a rookie, and that role for Kenny Moore is real good. So
I still would not love starting. I would not start Kenny Moore in a DB league. If you have a cornerback slot, he's still a fine start, but just Gus Bradley's scheme does not have that DB1 upside in him anymore, which sucks, as he is my favorite player on Colts.
Yeah, definitely a cornerback only more. I'm always lean with strong safety, then I'll go to slot corners with free safeties. But I do like Kenny Moore, and I mean, we've seen corners every year. It's hit and miss. One thing I will say for Gonzalez that was interesting is I haven't seen the Patriots do this before. They actually sent him on a corner blitz, and he got a sack in that game.
Pretty nifty.
So, I like Nate Hobbs. That's a deep league to start 3 corners.
Jeez.
I like your corners though.
Yeah.
That you have starting. I would start those guys and keep Kenny Moore on the bench.
Yeah. If you're putting Moore over any of them, it's probably Carlton Davis, but I need to see Moore produce more at this point.
Yeah. The other 2, I mean, Hobbs is literally my top cornerback every week.
Yep.
So.
And it looks like Dean just hit the IR.
Dean officially on the IR.
Cool. Not cool for him.
Lovely. That sucks.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have. I want to thank all of you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the first edition of the Waiver Wire Show. We'll be here at 2 Eastern every Tuesday here on out. So follow Justin at FFF Ballers or me at Jolo63 on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And remember, we reference the snap count tool that the IDP guys have often. It's a great tool. There's a lot of great tools there and on the website and just on our Discord. All of our analysts are in there chatting it up all hours of the day and night. Subscribe to the podcast feed, to the YouTube, all of it. And thank you guys for participating. And may the force be with you.